It is a holistic approach, right? And I think when you are talking about these restaurants, when, $400-$500 plus, it's hard to be just food, right? Like there's no food in the world that is worth $500. It's just energy that you consume. So for me, kind of when you are having these experiences, it has to be transportative. It has to be emotional. It has to touch you. For me, going to restaurants is like therapy, to be honest. Some people go to the spa, some people go to therapy. For me, that's restaurants.
You just heard from restaurateur and travel enthusiast Jhonatan Cano, and this is On the Pass. I'm your host, Gabriel Ornelas. Each episode, we serve up inspiring conversations with dynamic figures across food, beverage, and hospitality. Welcome back On the Pass, listeners. Gabriel here, as always, bringing you into the hearts and minds of thought leaders and innovators impacting food, beverage, and hospitality culture. For many of us, summer is in full swing, providing an opportunity for travel, exploration, and new discoveries. It's also a time that's crucial in our yearly cycle of Earth's climate, weather, and astrological position. Without summer, crops could fail, animals and humans may not find food, and life as we know it would shift immensely. And for us specifically, summer is a season to come alive, rejuvenate our spirit, and soak up the energy of growth and potential during the lightest and longest days of the year. Our next guest is someone who bathes throughout the year in an energy of potential and is constantly on a journey of exploration and discovery. But first, if you're new to this podcast, I'm so glad you're here. Do me a favor, and I'll only ever ask you for one thing. If you enjoy this episode, give us a 5-star rating and write a review. Our global On the Pass listening community has expanded to over 62 countries, and we're so grateful for you all. We recently did an episode with Chef Jhonatan Cano of Vespertine, one of LA's most talked about fine dining experiences, as well as iconic sommelier and wine director Daniel Janis, founder of the famous La Poulet Burgundy Wine Festival. If you haven't listened to these episodes, I highly recommend you do. Drop me a comment on Instagram. Our handle is @itsonthepass. That's @ITS on the pass. And let me know what you learned and enjoyed most. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our next guest, Jhonatan Cano, restaurateur, travel enthusiast, and global citizen. Jhonatan was born and raised in Lima, Peru, and always had a deep yearning to discover the world. He started his career in award-winning hotels like Ritz-Carlton, Waldorf Astoria, and the Conrad Hotel, and later joined José Andrés and ThinkFoodGroup as an integral team member of the flagship Minibar and Barmini. Jhonatan is now partner and director of operations at Hive Hospitality, alongside celebrated chef Ryan Ratino, who is most well known for Bresca, their one Michelin-starred bistro, and Jônt, a 17-seat intimate dining experience with a strong Japanese influence, with 2 Michelin stars in Washington, D.C. In addition to his role and influence at Hive Hospitality and their growing portfolio of restaurants, Jhonatan is well known for his travels and passion for fine dining. It's almost like that energy of growth and potential that many of us feel in the summer months is deeply embedded in his DNA. He's regularly traveling across the globe for 48 to 72 hours to experience the best restaurants in the world. Jhonatan has currently been to all 50 of the world's 50 best restaurants, all of the 3-star Michelin restaurants in the US, 83 of the 3 Michelin-star restaurants around the world, in over 40 countries and counting. As you hear Jhonatan discuss, it's more than just food. It's emotive, and for him, a therapeutic experience. Now let's get into my conversation with Jhonatan Cano. I'm curious, when did you know that you wanted to dedicate your life and ultimately your career to be in service of others?
There was a very big moment. First, when I was a child, I remember for some reason helping my dad pack. He used to pack these lunch boxes, right? Like a juice, a little sandwich from home, kind of like a side hustle, and taking it to these big factories an hour away from where we live. And then I always remember, for some reason, that me helping him doing that on the weekends. And then on the way back, there was this little farm who you could get like a fresh milk out of the cow. For some reason, that's like a very vivid memory I have in my mind about food and beverage. And then into that was a little bit of travel. I started in hotels first, right? Mm-hmm. Went to school in Peru, and it was, what's something like a really I can use working and studying that's going to allow me to travel? And it was like a hospitality became something, it was a little bit newish in those years, right? It wasn't as popular. You see all these people in hotels being able to relocate from country to country every few years. And I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this.
I want that. I want that. How do I do that?
And I have my goal, I just want to be in a large hotel company. My Hilton Worldwide was my first hotel company within Waldorf Astoria and Conrad's. And I was like, okay, it's going to be a lifer for a hotel company, and being able to just, go to Europe, Asia, all these different amazing places. Until 2009, I went with a dear friend, Miguel from Miami. He's a restaurant right now in Miami. We together went to Chicago to try a couple of restaurants. First restaurant we tried was Charlie Trotter, right? Like we read the books, right? Like lessons in service, lessons in excellence, amazing. And I was like, what is this that I'm reading? This doesn't happen in hotels. It's like, so we went there, and he was very famous in those books because amazing wine list, and if you order a beautiful bottle, they will change the menu, the tasting menu, and adapt it to your bottle of wine. So it's like a better pairing. And, this is back in the years, like we couldn't afford much. So we ordered a half bottle of Mouton between the two of us. It's kind of like all our savings in there. But, they truly make like an amazing, change the menu a little bit. And you could see every sip and every food just matching in heaven. And it was kind of like at that first, like, okay, this is what a wine pairing is, it's wow, it can truly, both together really elevates to the next level. But the next day we went to what I feel kind of like is the dinner that changed my career. We went to Alinea. So a group of 6 friends, they were working at Daniel at that time, I remember. And I was the only one coming from Miami. And then we all went to Alinea, 6 people. And this was like a completely different world, man. It's like you're walking into with the old entrance that you didn't know if ever ends. And then the door opens and it's a surprise. This level of service, right? I remember we were wondering, why is the water not condensing? There's no coaster underneath the glass. Why is it not condensing? And they tell us, oh yeah, we cool the water to this very specific temperature, so it's cold enough, but it's not cold enough to condense. And it's like,
so no condensation on the glass at all. All
these little details outside of the amazing food and beverage, they overheard us talking, oh, where can we go to have nice breakfast or nice cocktails? And then suddenly someone slips in a little handwritten in calligraphy note with all these places. So the evening was like of course, amazing meal, right? Like super entertaining, super interactive. Plus it was full of these moments that the people made it possible. Then when I left, I was kind of like, okay, I need to do this, right? Like I need to do this kind of like a dining where a whole team can be immersive in just taking it to the next level, making one single evening possible, the best evening of your life, of your year. Like a lot of people might have like a bad headspace, not a good week, and you go to dinner. And this is like the 3 hours that I transport you, right? Like I can take you somewhere else. I can make you forget. That's the moment I said, like I want to do what I do. And then since then, it's been a beautiful ride,
That was the gateway drug, as we call it, into the world of fine dining. I think it's interesting, I think about life and my journey and the journey of my guests. And sometimes in these conversations, there's a lot of small moments that lead to big life-altering decisions. But sometimes there are key experiences or a conversation with an individual that really make us go left instead of go right. And I think this experience in Chicago, obviously, Charlie Trotter's was an amazing experience, but really at Alinea was what I think you said, it changed my mind in how I see food, but not just in how you saw food. It's like what you're saying, the overall experience and that magic and that dance between the kitchen, the guests, the staff. It sounds like it really caught something in you and really inspired you now to obviously what you're doing today. But what happened sort of after that sort of pivotal moment? Ultimately, what did you do with that inspiration? Kind of where did you go after you said, I need to be a part of this world?
Yeah. No, after that, I also already started to travel quite a bit. In hotels, we were always after Forbes, AAA. So I used to travel to these other hotels that have these awards, let me see what they're doing so we can get them, how can I learn from them? But after that, I was kind of like, after Alinea, I need to go to a restaurant that is doing these kind of things. I need to learn from these kind of people. For some reason, I actually never went to apply to Alinea. I think Chicago was never like a place that had my eye for living. But I went to New York after this, and I was able to start at places like Daniel and 11 Madison Park, that at the moment they were very popular, like the service levels from Daniel when it had 3 stars, 11 Madison Park with, just launching the book, getting the 3 stars. I believe at that moment they were number 10 in the world. So they were just, just going up all the way, and being able to see a little bit behind the scenes what they do. It was very inspiring. It was things that I have never experienced before. You were just standing there and someone passed by and it's like so positive. Oh, great smile. Oh, great standing. And it was kind of like, oh, wow, I've never experienced these kind of things. And just to make people so positive, it translates into people just enjoying taking care of the guests. But after a few years there, I was able to connect with Chef José Andrés, and I was able to join his team. My first role with Chef José was in Puerto Rico. So we opened the first Ritz-Carlton Reserve, which is kind of like the next level of the Ritz-Carlton properties. Very few in the world. That was the first one in America, actually. And it was a beautiful property. And of course, Chef José Andrés taking the lead on the food. I was kind of like, you have such an iconic hospitality-driven hotel company like Ritz-Carlton. And then you have someone like a José Andrés with a culinary acumen, modern. At that moment, the company wasn't as big as it is right now. So it was, again, like a restaurateur that was climbing all the way up. And it was such an amazing combination to be in a different place, island life. So everything is a little bit slower. Mm-hmm. But the hospitality in the island was fantastic. Learning from Ritz-Carlton and from José Andrés at the same time was incredible. Beautiful lessons in the island. And then after 3 years there, he asked me to move into Washington, D.C. to take over Minibar. Michelin guy was coming into Washington, D.C. in 2 years. And that was kind of like the beginning of a different love story. Right now, the chase for the stars, the chase for what it means to the team, what it means to the business. But yeah, so that's when I moved to Washington, D.C. in 2015. And then since then, I've been here now. So
you and I were catching up the other day, and you were saying that Jose was in the restaurant at was it at Jônt or at Bresca or
yeah.
And you mentioned something. He was kind of almost passing the baton to Ryan, you in the team. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was very special. So the Michelin and Capital One, they did the first star crawl. Very cool activation. A lot of the Capital One guests, they purchased tickets, and then they started in one restaurant. I believe it's a big Gourmand. They all were there sharing appetizers. Then they moved to a 1-star restaurant. Again, like kind of like a heartier portions, sharing a style. And then they were able to pick where they're going to finish. And then the options were the 3 2-star restaurants in the city, Pineapple and Pears, Minibar, and Jônt.
And Jônt.
José Andrés is kind of like the face of Capital One in Washington, D.C. And so he was kind of like leading the pack and kind of like sharing stories in every stop. And then we were able to host him at Jônt. It's beautiful. It's the first time actually I have chef in the building since I moved away from working with him. So it's a very special moment, very exciting. But it was very nice when he stops and does the speech, right, in front of everyone, talking about how proud he is of everyone. There's a lot of people has worked in his company that now works in our company as well. Again, like his company is kind of like the institution of Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And saying, how he believes we are going to be the next 3 stars in DC was very special. Of course, like he mentioned, if you guys get 3 stars before Minibar, he make a long pause. And I was like, okay, what's coming is not going to be nice. No, he says like, I'll be very, very, very happy, and he started taking pictures, like with the tree and with us. So again, it's having someone at the level that he is, not only in food and beverage, but in the overall community around the world, like having those words in our home. It's like, it's very satisfying. It really brings a lot of motivation to not only to us, but to the whole team, no? For sure.
It wouldn't be Jose if he didn't make a joke like that. But, I think in a lot of ways, there's probably a sense of pride because of all of the incredible creatives and now executives that have come out of ThinkFoodGroup and now the Jose Andrés, company who've gone on to do incredible things. It's like these icons like Danielle and Thomas Keller and Grant Achatz, and so many people were individuals who started there they've taken the baton and they're sort of building on food culture and making their own impact in a lot of ways, but they're an alum, just like you're an alum of Jose, and he absolutely has to be proud of that. But speaking of 3 stars, Ryan talks about quality over everything, first and foremost, and I know you've said these experiences, it's more than food, it's more than service. It's truly something that transports you somewhere. And food is emotional. I know it's been emotional for you. And we'll get into sort of your travels and how, outside of Jônt and Bresca, your extracurriculars and how you continue to invest in discovery and invest in your own education, but also being connected to the industry. But is that something that you and the team, you have to be so proud of what you've accomplished already at Jônt in Bresca, but is getting that 3 stars, being that first in DC, obviously it's a goal, obviously something you all want, but how important is that for the team, and how much do you all talk about that within the company?
It's definitely the Northern Star, right? And I would say it's probably number 1 goal. I don't know how many, some people will find that saying like not right, but at the end of the day, the impact of the 3 stars is tremendous in all different ways, right? It's a business-wise, talent retention, your average check can go up, your talent pool goes up. At the end of the day, we're trying to run a business, we're growing in business. So I think having a 3rd star in our main restaurant, which is Jônt in DC, is just helpful for all the business in general. I don't know to which extent we can be saying, we just do it for the stars. That's probably not the real thing. We do it because we want to be better. We want to have a restaurant where the team takes pride in coming in and they're working with the highest quality ingredients into the highest quality environment with the highest quality possible equipment and utensils. So that's at the end of the day what we're trying to achieve and we're trying to strive for our teams. But when you sum all that together, at the end of the day, restaurants, they have a really great impact when they get awards, right? Being JBS, being 50 Best, being your local newspaper at the very end. You want the well-being of everything. And then awards like the 3rd star is just something that helps skyrocket that. But yes, like I have it on my phone. You open my phone, it's just 3 stars. I want to materialize it. Like, I want to see it. Like we read
manifest that.
I have to, right? Every single time. I remember when I moved here to Washington, D.C., I used to on the door of my exit door, there was a paper with 3 stars. So every time I left my house, it was called, this is the reason why I came to DC. This is the reason why I live in my house and going to work, because, this is the goal. But the 3 stars means many things, right? It means being you as a healthy person, being you as a great manager, be you taking care of the guests. 3 stars is different for many people, but it's absolutely definitely a goal that we talk to the team every day. When you read our pre-shift in our lineup, Jônt has 2 stars, but we have 3 in there because that's what we believe, we are, and that's what we're, striving towards. And again, if we don't get it this year, it's just a motivation to continue pushing harder to get it into the next year. And at the end of the day, it's a measurement for us to get better and better every single day. We feel ourselves that we're working a little bit harder, we're doing something more creative, we're creating a better dish, a better service step. It's just, a little bit closer for what we believe will take us there to the 3rd star. But it's definitely something we preach to all the teams, to talk to ourselves. It pumps us up the idea that we can get it. And I think it's a really great motivational tool for the team, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. You said it best. You're a business, and there's nothing wrong with being a business.
Yep.
And I think I remember I was chatting with Daniel Hume at one point, and he said, at one time there was no award that was too great. They wanted it all, but nowadays where sort of kitchen culture and food culture is gone is, as long as that's not at the expense of you, your health, your staff, like all of that. And so I think it's so important to have a North Star. It's so important to reach for these goals, but ultimately also have a healthy work environment, have a healthy staff, and ultimately deliver an experience that transports, like you said, creates this emotive response for the guests. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about the guest as well. It's about delivering an experience, like you said, whether they're doing it once a year or like you every weekend. It's transporting them to another place. It is
a holistic approach, right? And I think when you are talking about these restaurants, when $400-500 plus, it's hard to be just food, right? There's no food in the world that is worth $500. It's just energy that you consume. So for me, kind of when you are having these experiences, it has to be transportative. It has to be emotional. It has to touch you. For me, going to restaurants is like therapy, to be honest. Some people go to the spa, some people go to therapy. For me, that's restaurants. I go to a restaurant to spend 3-4 hours in there because I know I'm going to be transported. I know I'm going to forget about my personal problems, the business problems. And for 3 hours, I'm in my zone with the chef and with the team that I just get involved into seeing what they do and seeing what they're trying to represent through food and beverage and service. And that's, I think, when you can add value to these very expensive experiences, with all these things comes together when people, you're going there and you're learning about the people, learning about the food, what they're trying to say about their ingredients, their service style. It's truly holistic approach at the end of the day, and it's different for everyone. I think that's the beauty of restaurants, and that's the beauty of the people who are in restaurants, because the great ones understand and can change a little bit their style in order to, connect with the person, right? People like me, I can go once a week, but the person next to me, maybe they save a whole year to have this special occasion, or this is a birthday, or this is an anniversary, or this is a first date. So it's so important, right? So for someone with experience to read these things and just make it how you really want it. I'm still giving you what chef wants to say through the food, what the maitre d' wants to say through the the service and the beverage, but tailor it to your specific occasion. I think it's like a wonderful. I think that's when magic happens. It's when you can pinpoint all these different experiences, personalize it. We took inspiration, of course, from 11 Miles on Parks, Dreamweaver, right? Mm-hmm. We created this hospitality director position. Huge investment, right? This is an extra payroll in the business. It's not a manager that does this. It's not a host that, whenever it's free, does this. It's like a full-on payroll to be director of hospitality. And her role is to literally create this experience for guests, personalize it for guests. So all the team working the floor are listening to these conversations from the guests, getting more information. And then we all communicate to this person that she's in the office, with all these, tools to make magic, right? But that's when you can see, like, I can never forget, right? Like, you always see people leaving. She created like we stalk people on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Google before they come, like 100%. Like there's no privacy.
Full on stalking.
There's no privacy whatsoever.
Not anymore.
Yeah. So if we find that you have a dog or a cat, we have we partner with the culinary team, and out of the trims of the food, we make this, dog treats or cat treats, right? Like fanciest dog treats ever with Wagyu beef trims on foie gras and everything. We print the picture of your dog into these little boxes, and then we give it to you as a surprise at the end. And honestly, I see people eating the most expensive fish, the most expensive beef, the most expensive ingredients, but the face that they have when they see the little picture of their dog at the end of that, it's way better than when they're eating. It's like crazy, like these personal moments that we can create for you. Like I've seen people cry, and that's when I think that you say like, okay, this is worth it, right? Like when you can touch people that hard that you can see the face and the body language change, it's like, okay, this is worth it. This is why we do it. It's fantastic.
Well, especially people nowadays, you're anything around their pets, you're pulling at their heartstrings, man. Some people spend more money on their pets than they do on them, on 100%. Themselves.
No, and originally it started kind of like, okay, this is gonna be like a little touch for certain people, and then of course, the Michelin wrote about it, the local newspapers wrote about it, and now we have people coming, sending us pictures of their pets already before they even arrive. And they arrive, oh, I have a dog, I want my treat. So it's kind of like keeping us on our toes, because like food service also needs to be innovative, right? 10 years ago, 15 years ago, service was new, right? Like not every restaurant were known for good service. 10 years ago now, hospitality became the new standard, right? Service was expected, service being the technical aspects, and hospitality being a little bit more the true nature of caring, right? But I think nowadays, especially in these culinary experiences, hospitality is becoming a little bit more expected, right? Like if I go to these great restaurants with stars, with lists, I do expect to have a very high level of service, extremely high level of hospitality. So what is that changer, right? And I think that, or these places that can personalize it for whatever the reason you came, and they truly do something with that information to make it unique for yourself. And so it's like always keeping in our thoughts, right? Like we always need to be innovating what kind of like a service and hospitality touches we are doing, which is very exciting. It keep us always active and always innovating as well in the service aspect.
Oh, that's how you continue to evolve and grow and challenge. We're not satisfied with just this way. There could be a more interesting and better way to deliver ultimately a more tailored experience. I'm fascinated by the fact that fine dining is therapy for you, because we've talked, and I've also read, there'll be some nights I'm sure you might leave the restaurant at 2 a.m. and you get on a flight at 5 a.m. to visit a restaurant. Like your body, like you didn't get any rest. Your body is taxed already, but yet that experience, like you're saying, it really sort of allows you to enter a different world, and it is probably very relaxing and enjoyable for you. Talk a little bit about that, and then let's get into this globetrotting that you've done. Obviously Alinea was the catalyst for all of this, but when did you really begin to go all over the world on the weekends? And I know you and the team are taking sort of your annual time off for 10 or 12 days. I want to hear where you're going next.
No, absolutely. And I think I always tell people, especially if you are young, it's kind of an investment on yourself and kind of like your education and your experience. Your experiences is your education at the end. What you see with your own eyes and what you experience on yourself is it's invaluable, right? No one can take away that from you. And it happened a lot, before when I only had flexibility. Now is a lot larger than before, right? When I was 100% or 300% on the floor, I only had literally 2 days closed, not of service. Pre-pandemic, with flights were a little bit more, you could take a flight at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m. It's not as flexible now, at least in Washington, D.C. You don't have those kind of flights anymore. But I used to do this very often. Sunday, literally at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., took a plane ride to, you name it, right? Could be Mexico, which is 3 hours away. Could be Europe, which is 6 hours away. And it's perfect. You landed there. It was noon. Perfect for a tasting menu lunch. Then you go for a dinner tasting menu. You do that the same day. And then you take the red eye and you're back in service at 10 a.m. in the morning on Wednesday. And that I did that for so many years because, again, my body, we was, could handle it, I don't know if it can handle those hours anymore, but I'm still doing it. And you were able to do a lot. Everyone has 24 hours in the day, right? Everyone. It's how you use your 24 hours. And I think when I was, starting in my career, I used as much as I could my 24 hours. And again, I don't know if it was the healthiest way. I slept very little. I ran off a lot of Red Bull. I still do. But, I was able to consume so much experiences in shorter amount of time. Being able to go to London for 2 days, being able to go to, South America for 2 days, come back with knowledge and straight into service. Everything was so fresh in my mind. And, I keep sharing all these ideas with everyone. I just became very addictive to a certain way. But also as well, every time you do that, you start to develop relationships with people, develop networks. And literally now I'm going somewhere in the world and there's people that I know, people that I can call friends, people I can stay in their houses, people that I can dine to their restaurants. So the world just becomes a lot smaller, just because you get to know people from so many places with such different backgrounds. It also opens up a lot more your point of view. I think that originally changed. I did almost a year of school in China, in Tianjin. And it was a very different experience, in able to see the world from completely different perspective. It just gives you a little bit better understanding. But I think that, it's what I love about the traveling, the short travel, when you can do so many things in short amount of time. It's your body gets used to receive that many different experiences, right? So just your perspective becomes a lot wider because you just have seen so much.
What have these experiences taught you or reinforced what you already know about the art of hospitality?
It's definitely that there's no one size that fits all. I think hospitality, it is very personal. And it's also that I would say everything has been created in a certain way, right? When you look into a new way to do things, and it's kind of hey, I experienced that 2016 in Bangkok, right? It's gives you this very big frame of reference that you can just pick little things from many different places and try to adapt it to a moment, the moment of now, right? So I think, yes, it's kind of being able to be innovative. The more experiences you have, you have a lot more tools in your toolbox for saying something like that, right? I think every experience, every country, every restaurant is just a tool added into your box. So at the moment to experience something with a guest or with a client, a possible investor or anything like that, I think you have a lot more resources where to take those from.
How have these experiences influenced your leadership style?
My goal for me, when you come to work in our company and we work together, it has been like, I want to help you to achieve your goal. And that's how I was very lucky to have bosses since the very beginning of my career who allowed me to do this, to enable me, give me a lot of opportunities since I was young into the career, and allow me to fail, right? Like you gotta fail to get better, but it's kind of like
but fail quickly. Fail quickly and learn.
And I think it's a little bit like that, always the first conversation I have with people is like, tell me your goals, right? What's your goal for next year? What's your goal for 3 years? What's your goal for 5 years? I want to work with people that wants to get better and wants to grow, right? When people who wants my position or wants to the next position in their roles. Because I think like I just want to be surrounded by the kind of people that wants more. I think it's very important to surround yourself with that kind of people because, you are as good as the people around you, right? And so I think
Absolutely.
your leadership team needs to be, has to have the same hunger than you, or maybe more actually. But that's one of the first questions that I normally ask is kind of like, what do you want to do and where do you want to be in the next year, 3, 5? Because my personal goal is to help you achieve that, most of people, yes, I want to have a promotion within the next, 12, 24 months. It's perfect. My goal, and I will measure my success if I was able to get you the promotion. But if you tell me, hey, I'm committed with you for 2 years, but in the 3rd year, I want to go and be the beverage director from this restaurant group, right? That's perfect. I love the transparency. And then my goal is that. My goal is after those 2 years, maybe we've done such an amazing job that we convince you to stay, which is a win for us. But my goal is making sure that for these 2 years, I'm preparing you to take the role that you wanted, right? And I think that's why having these communications and this transparency is very important, because our role as managers and our role as leaders is to make sure that the people that work with us, they are achieving their goals, right? They're helping us achieve the business goal. Our duty is helping them to achieve their own personal goals, right? And everyone gets there differently, right? Some people want more, work-life balance. Some people want more responsibility. Some people, different people are at different times in their lives when they join our company. So it's very similar as we treat each guest in their own personal space, and we try to personalize their experience for what they want. I think, treating our managers and our leaders a little bit more personal, it's very important, because again, not everyone is in the same path of their life. Everyone can have different needs. So being able to understand those and tailor your management skills to them, I think is very important.
It sounds like you're a very empathetic leader, and I'm curious. I have to imagine you've learned so much through some of your mentors. I have to imagine traveling the world in the way that you've done and seeing different cultures and different perspectives has also given you that empathy. But is that something that you learned at an early age from your parents or from your family?
Definitely, yes. I think in my family, I had my father, who was a little bit more the empathetic person. I think my mother, who was a little bit more like the sergeant, right? So, and I think I was able to have a little bit of both worlds back at home, which is a great training for when you get into the real workforce. You need both in a certain way, especially when you're trying to run restaurants at this level with such goals, very high goals. You need to be empathetic, because at the end of the day, it's people business, right? It's people business. It's also business, right? So you need to be able to make decisions without the heart when it needs to be. But I think most of the time on the day-to-day, being empathetic and kind of like connect with people, it's what is going to take you a little bit the longer route. But at the same time, traveling, being able to share experiences with chefs, managers, restaurateurs from different backgrounds all across the globe, it gives you a different perspective, right? It's not like I just go and have dinner and leave, right? Like a lot of times people follow the adventures on Instagram, of course, and on Instagram only shows like a food and a drink, right? But there's a lot more that happens into that, coffee breaks with the team, going out with the chef or the restaurateur to talk about how they're doing with business, how are they running the restaurants, what's new in Asia that is not happening in America, or what's new in Europe that is not happening in America. It's different economic styles, it's different social styles. So there's a lot of things that get into those conversations that you are able to bring back. But yes, I do enjoy a lot when I do these travels, being able to have some conversations with the leadership there and understanding a little bit what's working for them. What are they so successful? What are they doing different in certain areas, right? I'm just talking to people in Copenhagen last month, and you have work weeks of 3 days, right? I don't know if that's ever possible in the United States, but
not in the near term, at least. maybe that could be our North Star at some point.
But then it gives you a little bit of realization: who are you competing with, right? It's like having these conversations, just learning about all these different things that happen in restaurants. That at the end of the day, those are 3 stars or 2-star restaurants. We are 2-star restaurants. Those restaurants might be on the same list as other restaurants, but I think geographically where you are, it matters. But I think understanding what is happening in other parts of the world, I think, again, it can plant a seed for something to develop in the future, right? And I think that started a lot, you were mentioning about the breaks, right? So that the breaks are something that, probably was not very common in the United States 10 years ago, right? That's something that, was very common in Europe from many years in the back. And you can see a lot of restaurants now, very particular ones, taking advantage of those slow seasons to shut down the restaurant, give vacations to the team, use it for research and development, have the team recharge, get inspired, go travel the world. Then you have, team of 20, 30 people exploring 30 different parts of the world. So much that they can bring back, so much new ideas, tastes, flavors, experiences. And at the end of the day, all that gets translated in new experiences for the guests.
Yeah, I love that. All right. So where are you headed on this break? We want specifics, okay? Where do you have reservations? Who are you going to be connecting with?
July 1st, we shut the restaurant down for 10 days, right? And I'm going to 6 different countries in Asia or Middle East and Asia. So I land on July 2nd in Dubai. Actually, meeting Claudia, that was in your podcast not too long ago.
I love Clau. She's great.
So the Michelin reveal for Dubai is going to be on July 4th. So it was kind of like a perfect timing to be able to attend, reconnect. I was able to attend the first Michelin reveal for Dubai, Abu Dhabi in 2022. So it's going to be great to reconnect with a lot of chefs. Have a couple of meetings with some hoteliers in there. Of course, expansion of our group internationally is a goal of us. And taking advantage of these trips to connect and try to secure new opportunities or new collaborations as well with different brands and, of course, different restaurants. Of course, lunch at Orfalis is a must. I think every single time I've been to Dubai, my first meal and my first lunch, it has always been Orfalis for some reason. And now it's like has to be a tradition. And then, of course, trying Dressing Studio one more time. I haven't tried it since they go out the 2 stars. And I think what they do there is truly fantastic. Bringing Indian cuisine at that level, in that setting, it's fantastic. And hospitality as well there is one of the best. Have a few friends in there. I want to try to do skydiving as well, just overlooking at the palm, trying to get a little bit of adventure. So it's literally 3 days of dining, adventure, meetings. After that, I'll be heading to India for 1 day, Mumbai. So we had Aditi and the team of Mask in DC last week, 2 weeks ago, right after Vegas, right after 50 Best. They were able to cook with us here at Jônt. It was an amazing collaboration. I think that the flavors that they bring from India, they're super unique. It's something
I saw that. It looked incredible.
I'm not familiar with that. This is going to be my first India trip, and it's going to be for less than 24 hours. I think they have a schedule set up for me just to fit me the whole day. And of course, we're going to finish with dinner at Mask. We're already planning to do a collaboration of Jônt in Mumbai, so more details coming soon on that.
Oh, that's exciting.
And then after that, taking the plane to Singapore. Singapore is a country very dear to me. I've been there probably like close to 10 times already. And again, meeting with a few people, a couple of good friends that are going to take me out for some dinners, trying to meet a couple of possible locations, meeting with a few people in hotels for possible residencies and collaborations in Singapore. Excited to go back to Odette. So Julien's just retains 3 stars. Again, one of the most pristine and clean restaurants that exist ever. So it's super exciting to be back always.
It's going to be their 10-year anniversary.
10 years.
10, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Yeah. I think it's their anniversary coming up. So, I was talking to him right before 50 Best. And I was saying, I want to do a fun special episode with him,
nice.
In celebration.
After that, it's literally, Singapore is probably one of the packed ones. It's lunch and dinner, plus, of course, you have all those street foods, breakfast in the markets. The cocktail bar scene in Singapore, for me, is my favorite in the world. I think you have the most great cocktail bars in concentration from any city. A good friend of mine just opened Dragonfly in there. So super excited to see. She used to work with me here in Washington, D.C. So again, the world becomes super small. Someone that used to work with you, now she opens a bar all across the world. Trying a little bit of Seroya, Born, couple of restaurants that I haven't been quite yet, that are very unique to their location in Singapore. So very exciting. After that, heading to Taiwan, Taipei, mostly to visit JL. So it's a 3-star, the newest 3-star in Taiwan. Taiwan is a brand new country for me. So super excited to do a couple of the fine dinings and a lot of the street food as well. So it's going to be 3 quick days. And then I finish in Hong Kong for 5 days, joining at the Asia's 50 Best Bars in Hong Kong, which is going to be, I believe, on the 15th or the 16th. And then over there, just dining a little bit everywhere. Definitely one of the most exciting is going to be Wing from Vicky. And I think it's like one of the hottest restaurants in Hong Kong. The food looks amazing. A lot of street food in there, a lot of cocktail bars because it's going to be Asia's 50 Best Bars, a lot of activations. After that, I'm back into Washington, D.C. for 3 days. Trying to go to Tales of the Cocktail, biggest cocktail celebration in New Orleans. We just cooked with EJ from Emeril's here in DC. I mean, what he's doing in New Orleans is super fantastic. We're doing a collaboration with our bar, with him during Tales. So probably go there for literally 1 day. Then after that, Bilbao for 1 day for Asadores Chivalry.
Jonathan, it's still going. It's still going.
Then I fly to Barcelona for Disfrutar. I'm back to DC for a short week, and that's it. That's mid-July. So
wow! Oh my gosh! What an
a fun one.
What an incredible lineup. Obviously, this is your passion, but it's beyond passion now. And what I mean by that is what you said earlier is how the world becomes so much smaller. This network through Michelin, through 50 Best, has made the world so much smaller. And obviously, there's a tremendous amount of business opportunities on these trips. There's collaboration dinners. There's potential for your restaurant group, and through this connectivity to grow and expand internationally, domestically, what you're doing. But does this ever, when you're doing 2 tasting menus in a day, how do you stay present? Ultimately, I think is what I'm asking. And you don't go on autopilot. I think in life, we automate things. We sometimes automate our feelings, as well, because that's just how through evolution we've sort of been trained. But how do you stay present in that experience when you're packing so much in?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think that's the old saying, right? Which I think is true. If you do what you love, you don't have to work a day in your life, right? And doing this is, as you mentioned, it's passion, right? It's I truly, as much as I enjoy being on the floor talking to guests, I enjoy being in a restaurant, taking in all this information. And honestly, for me, it's not much, I think the more you do something, the better you become at it. The more I go to restaurants, the easier it becomes to me to just filter information through me. I do a lot of notes. I do a lot of pictures. I have, summaries of every meal that I have, spreadsheets, you name it, But all that just became part of my process of enjoying a meal, right? Is there a time where I have been to a restaurant and I have put my phone away? No, I don't think so. But for me, being present in a restaurant is not just being me and the food. For me, being present in a restaurant, it's taking in the information, because at the end of the day, it's part of what I do in the terms of sharing the information with the restaurants, with the teams, with the community. A lot of the feedback that I get mostly from social media is kind of a lot of people don't get to go to these restaurants, so they are able to experience those dinners through just watching my stories, right? And it's that's super cool to hear. It's originally it was never the intention, but it's kind of became that, became the format of how I narrate an experience. But yeah, it's just I truly take a lot of pleasure on having a meal. And again, I tell you, with age, things change a little bit, right? I think the maximum once in London, I did 4 tasting menus in a day. I couldn't. I could not sleep laying flat. I could not. That was too much. And those times, I was tasting menus 2 or 3 a day, plus wine pairings in every single tasting.
Wow.
Now, for example, I tend to choose some time. If I done the restaurant once, maybe I go for the shorter menu. If it's a restaurant that offers a la carte, maybe I do a la carte. Maybe come with more people to share more food. I think a little bit more selective now on what I take in. A lot of the visits are more for, again, it's not for the food itself, but it's for the whole holistic approach. Mm-hmm. And then as well, making sure we're taking care of our health, right? It's becoming for me a little bit of a habit to make sure I'm exercising very often. I do a lot of running. I'm not extremely fit or anything like that, but making sure exercise is part of my daily routine. I think it has become a very healthy habit for me. It's kind of my day doesn't start until I'm out of my building, kind of doing something. I do Orange Theory, I do running every day. And it's kind of that just helps you with, being healthy in order to take these calories in terms of a food or beverages. So.
Absolutely. Just briefly give our audience, what can we expect from Jônt, from Bresca, from the restaurant group? You're coming to LA, but what does sort of the rest of the year look like? And what are the hopes? I know you're in conversation with a lot of people, but what can we look out for?
No, definitely. So Jônt and Bresca, that's our DC staples, right? Bresca, French bistro, super energetic restaurants. We just moved into a la carte menu. So I think you saw a lot after the pandemic. Most restaurants went tasting prefix. So we wanted to give a little bit more flexibility to our guests. So we just move into a la carte menu, large portion, large formats. We believe this is a little bit of the future for these kind of restaurants. So Bresca, that's Jônt's tasting menu, like everything very Japanese inspired. We bring the best products that we can get from all over the world, predominantly Japan. We touch over the wood fire with classic techniques, a very immersive experience. You are in a tasting counter, listening to hip hop, talking to the chef, seeing how everything, is done first row of the show. It's very cool. We just opened in Florida. In December, we opened Mas, contemporary American cuisine, beautiful restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, Four Seasons. A little bit of a larger scale restaurant. We do a little chef counter, but you can have a beautiful dinner overlooking the beach. The location is amazing. In Orlando Winter Park, we just opened an offshoot of Jônt, 16-seat chef counter with 3 different rooms. You start in one room with some canapés, some champagne, welcome beverages, move into the chef counter overlooking the fire for the main portion of the savory courses, and then move into the pastry room for after dinner drinks. A lot of sweets. Chef and I love so many sweets. So it's like an hour of sweets.
Same.
Yeah, you're gonna love it.
I'm on team sweets as well.
We are opening a cocktail bar. It's called Press Club in Washington, D.C. in the next 3 months. So Will Patton is our beverage director, extremely talented. We've been activating that cocktail bar concept already for 2 years, doing pop-ups in Washington and outside. We brought, a lot of the people on the 50 best list. Then it's gonna be a bar that is gonna shoot to be, in list, to be one of the favorites in DC. I think DC has a beautiful bar scene with Service Bar and Allegory and Silver Lion and Barmini. It's a very nice community of bars. So I think it's gonna be a really great addition. And then LA, that's gonna be Orion, which is gonna be kind of like a Bresca 2.0, a little bit of a variation of Bresca and Mas. It's going to be a restaurant which is going to have an a la carte portion of that, maybe a prefix menu. It's going to have a vibrant restaurant. So it's going to be the busy part of the restaurant. You can go just for a la carte dishes, go to the bar. The patio is gonna be a very comfortable area, so you can have drinks, snacks. So that's going to be the place that you want to come multiple times a week, multiple times a month. And then, of course, we're going to have Ode by Jônt, which is our interpretation of Jônt in the West Coast. Again, 3 different rooms. The seating is going to be about 18 to 24 seats. And we're going to be, again, very interactive, very immersive experience. We're, again, the ethos of Jônt, trying to source the best ingredients that we can. We do love Japan a lot. And Chef goes to Japan at least 4 times a year, very often to keep, getting in touch with the producers, trying to source new ingredients. But of course, the beautiful products that you find in the West Coast, I think they're going to be very well incorporated into the menu as well. So I think that's the goal with Jônt, trying to place them in key cities. Same with the Japanese open fire inspiration, but taking a little bit of the new location where they are as well as part of the menu.
Wow. There's a lot going on.
It's a busy year.
On multiple levels, but it's super exciting for you and Ryan and the entire team. Can't wait to welcome you all to the West Coast, but also experience all your incredible venues, hopefully in the coming months. Jhonatan, what's a life lesson you can leave us with?
I would say always show up, right? I think it's something that I learned earlier in life. And it's like always show up, always say yes to the new experience, always take the opportunity to be present, right? So I think sometimes when a new experience comes in, we spend a lot of time into, should I go? Should I do it? Should I not? And people start to weigh the pros and cons. If you have the time, just show up, go, say yes, buy the ticket, take the ride. you're going to learn something new, and it can open a lot more doors. It's just so important to be there, to be present, to show to those new places, to those new adventures, saying yes more often to new things. And I think that's something that has helped me a lot, all the way up to now.
Love that. We know you say yes to the experiences. I love that.
Always,
I love that, man.
Always.
Awesome.
Maybe too many times.
On the Pass is hosted and produced by me, Gabriel Ornelas, and edited and mixed by Dylan Agajanian, with original music by Dylan Agajanian.